Welcome to the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show, where you get advice you can trust. From home selling tips to investing, this is the talk show that will help you make the most money when selling your most valuable asset and save the most money when buying. Now here are your hosts, Dave McKay, along with Wally Kerr, broker and founder of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty in Oklahoma City.
Well, welcome. This is the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show, brought to you each week by Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage and Best Protect Roofing and Construction. Wally, we're going to have another fun-filled show today. Let's jump right into it. What are our topics for today?
Hey, Dave, got some good stuff today. First of all, we'll hit pretty early, dealing with property tax sticker shock. Boy, we're just hearing a lot about this today, about how much property taxes are going up when a property sells, especially for buyers who are trying to work that into their payments. So we'll talk about that. What are we hearing from the media? Man, I'm hearing a lot of things that I just don't think are accurate for our current marketplace. And I read it because, like you say, when you start researching something, your phone just starts jamming you lots more articles. Like I've been reading a lot about the Thunder. I get more articles from MSN about the Thunder, and they just change the title and send you 7 or 8 different articles all about the previous game.
Yes.
So that happens with housing, and I'm seeing some things that I don't think are quite accurate. I want to talk about that a little bit. Going to baffle you and Cindy with a couple of fun and interesting facts today that I think you'll like.
True or false?
Well, true or false, or just some fun information about Oklahoma. And then some really good home statistic facts for what our marketplace looks like in the Oklahoma City metro, and how many homes are for sale, and the fact that it's a pretty busy market right now. Got a lot of stuff for our listeners today.
And as with today's show, all of our past shows are available online at all the different podcast networks. Of course, you can go to wallytalkshouses.com while you're there. Click on the green follow button so you'll be notified each week when a new show is posted. And of course, it's sorted by all the topics you can go through. You don't have to listen to me pontificating on what I'm going to be doing this weekend or anything. You can get all the topics.
I'm impressed that you said pontificate.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go look that one up, Dave.
That's right.
I'm trying to decide if that was a real word or if you're just baffling me with some of that BS stuff. So,
well, yes, and bite-sized morsels, I like to say as well. So you can get all that at wallytalkshouses.com. And like Wally, you said, the show repeats Sundays at noon. So if you can't stick with us today, join us tomorrow. If you're joining us Sunday, again, go back to wallytalkshouses.com. We'll be back in 2 minutes to kick off the show. Stick around.
To schedule an appointment with Wally Kerr to help you or a family member buy or sell a home, call or text at 405-330-3000 or go to wallysguarantee.com. Wally will be right back with more of the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show right here on KOKC.
So you thought interest rates were going to go down? Hey, me too. It's Wally Kerr, and despite today's interest rates, the market's already picking up. Why sell your home without a safety net? It's like walking a high wire at the circus. There's just too much at stake. Call me to get your written guarantee that I'll sell your home in an agreed period or buy it myself at a price you and I agree to up front. Ask for Wally when you call us today at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty at 330-3000. 330-3000.
Best Protect Roofing and Construction has been serving the Oklahoma community since 2017 with trusted professionals and a proven track record. Best Protect Roofing and Construction has the local knowledge to ensure every roofing project is compliant and hassle-free. They offer free roof inspections to assess damage, provide accurate quotes, and recommend the best solution for your home. Call today, 405-473-9599. Best Protect Roofing and Construction.
Finding the right mortgage can be stressful. From knowing which program fits your situation the best to identifying the best terms. Hi, I'm Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage. I work closely with you every step of the way, from pre-qualification to helping you choose the home loan that's right for you. My promise is to provide transparency, timely communication, personal service, and closings on time. Call me today at 405-253-2276. That's 405-253-2276.
NMLS 984758. Gateway Mortgage, a division of Gateway First Bank. NMLS 7233. Equal housing lender.
If you or a family member will be selling or buying a home and would like to schedule an appointment with Wally, call 405-330-3000 or go to wallysguarantee.com. Now back to the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show with Wally Kerr.
Wally, let's jump right into this because I have some questions for you, and I've seen some data, especially this week online, that was real interesting. And I'm aware it might be just the media, obviously, for clicks.
We see a lot of that.
Right.
Yes.
So they put out these articles, and it probably represents the nation as a whole. A lot of times,
Agreed.
Oklahoma is sometimes is a little independent in the
Yes.
housing market.
Yeah,
and,
agreed.
In a good way,
Yep.
I would say. So,
Unique and
yes.
affordable.
Well, and then when you used to see those peaks in California,
Yeah.
always seems like things start in California. And so there was times when our market was kind of bottomed or very level. Of course, the California market was always wild swings.
Yes, very wild swings. And that's one thing I really like about Oklahoma. We have stable employment. It seems like our affordable market stays that way and it's more stable for buyers.
What was it you saw online, Dave, that made you wonder
Well,
about?
so it was talking about the inventory clicking upward because of interest rates and where they are, but also that the inventory of existing homes is really tight. And you've kind of mentioned that in previous weeks as well. So can you kind of bring us up to date to where we are in the market and how it looks today here in Oklahoma?
I think I saw definitely an article like you did that said maybe the market was bottoming out and it had hit a rock bottom. And so what I want our listeners to know is there are homes available in our metro market, but there's far fewer existing homes. There's a lot of new homes for sale because the
Yes.
builders really prepped up for this springtime. Would you believe, Dave, that, for instance, let's choose a couple of metro communities. One of the ones that surprised me was, do you know that in Newcastle, which is actually one of the hottest running communities in the metro right now, we talked a couple of weeks ago about how over the last 12 months, the values were up 8 to 10% in Newcastle. It's a great location. It's on I-44. It's a little bit more rural, great schools. Do you know in Newcastle there's only 28 existing homes for sale?
Really?
There's only 28 existing, but there's 65 new ones.
Ah, okay.
There are 65 new homes for sale. So it's amazing how few existing homes are available. And I think that's important to understand because the new homes, those prices are a little higher. You're paying for brand new, and building materials have gone up. There's just a very, very low number of existing homes. In Piedmont, there's only 25 existing homes for sale.
And that's all price ranges.
That's right. But there's 50 new ones. So 2/3 of the homes available for sale today in Piedmont are brand new. Now, a place like in Norman, there's 239 existing homes for sale and only 104. It's interesting in Moore and Norman that there's not as much land available to build on.
Oh, that's true.
Those communities,
That's true.
you've either got to go way out, but in the actual cities themselves, a lot of that land's been developed. So only 30% of the homes available for sale in Norman are new, only 16% in Moore. But wow, look at Edmond and Yukon. Yukon has 56% of its available housing in new homes.
I would lump Yukon in, obviously, probably with the Newcastle and the Piedmont, because you're expanding out. We're just like at what markets do. They just grow and they
That's
grow.
right.
And those are the communities on the outward side of things. So they have the land to do that.
Yeah, it's real surprising to see plenty of new homes available. Again, they're a little bit higher. People are looking for affordability today. And I think the point here is far fewer existing homes. So if you're thinking about selling and you're reading articles like what you said and what I mentioned that the real estate market is bottomed or that it's slow, it does depend on price range.
Okay.
Certainly the 250 and 300 ranges are very, very busy right now. And we're seeing multiple offers come in on homes at that price range. So if you're thinking about selling, we are here at the busiest time of year in May and June and July. And even though rates are higher, we know that, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
affordability is tough. People still want to get into homes. And so I just want to dispel any rumors or thoughts that the market is not good and that it's bottomed out, because I think you're right, Cindy. California and Oklahoma can be very different. You look at California, look at the cost of a house in California.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you even buy anything
As
for
a percentage of a person's income, it's just so daunting to try to get into real estate. And here, I love the affordability.
I mean, I know there are outlying areas in California where you can probably buy a home in
Well,
$300,000,
here's-
$500,000 range.
here's
If you
my
like to commute.
Here's my story. If you like to live in the desert.
Okay, yes.
So I remember selling real estate in Southern California, and people would go to the desert. And they said, we're coming back. My front yard was all sand, and the winds would blow. It was awful.
You get a few snakes out there in that sand?
No,
No?
it's just sand.
See, even the snakes don't want to live out there.
You know, people they're married to their mortgage today.
I've determined that being very married is a good thing.
Well, if you want to
Maybe just
stay
on the
married,
personal, the personal front. I don't know, with homes. But
yeah,
yes,
if you want to
for me.
stay married, being very married is probably
probably a
good
good
advice. So, only 37% of the market is pending right now, Dave, out of the total number of homes available. Let's talk about signs in the yard.
Yes.
In signs in the yard right now, according to the MLS, there are 9,521 homes with a sign in the yard in the MLS today in the Oklahoma City area.
Yes.
3,527 of those are pending. So about 37% of the inventory. That's a pretty regular balance. The numbers have come up, and the pending number of homes that are under contract has come down a bit.
And pending is under contract, but not closed yet.
That is correct. Getting more back in balance right now. It's a better thing for home buyers. For home sellers, maybe not as many buyers, but we're still at a very busy time of year.
You talked about being very married, and I'll tell you, I just did an open house. I had someone come in who needs a 4-bedroom. She has 4 kids. She owns a home, has a lot of equity, but has a 3.5% interest rate on her 3-bedroom home. So that was very tough for her to think about going to 7. We're working with her on that. And the right home at the right price that's marketed aggressively, it will sell today. And some receive multiple offers. And quite frankly, this is what our team does best for our customers.
Yeah, we just had a home up in the Tulsa area that we took for a friend. We do belong to the multi-list in Tulsa, beginning to work there too.
Yes.
We got 18 offers on a home about 10 days ago, and the home sold for about 12% above listed price. Does depend on price range. It can depend on area.
Sure.
But it's a good market, Dave. Not everybody's going to get as many offers as they got a couple of years ago, but people are really looking, Cindy, and they want to find that right home, but they're also looking very carefully at current interest rates and what it's going to cost them, and they're shopping, aren't they?
They are.
Hey, let's jump into our first House Talk segment today. And you mentioned something about sticker shock, and I'm very well aware of that when it comes to automobiles and things of the like. But sticker shock with buying a house?
Let me tell you about someone. Here's a good example named Tamara Ransom. She bought a house in Florida, and I read about her. Single mom. She put all her savings into the down payment and other necessities, which many people do. The property taxes on the house had been $2,700 a year. And she said, I expected them to go up a little, but they went up 174%.
Oh, wow.
And it's happening all over the nation.
We have a Norman home I mentioned a few weeks ago that just closed, and the property taxes on that home were about $1,300 or $1,400 a year. But based on the new sales price, they're going to jump to about $3,000, which is more than a 100% increase, like what Cindy is talking about here. So we want our listeners to be very careful, and we're mentioning this again today just because we are in the buying and selling season. So if you know someone, again, maybe it's you, but maybe it's kids or grandkids or a friend, whatever you do, make sure you just mention to them and say, hey, have you researched how those taxes are going to go up when that purchase is made? It's a little bit complicated to figure them, but it's something you definitely want to look into because nobody likes a surprise.
Sure.
Right? You go in, and if you bought a car today and they said, hey, Dave, your payment's going to be $425, and suddenly you got your first coupon and it was $480, you'd probably be making a call to the dealership,
Sure,
right?
Hey, what is this?
It's important for the realtors to figure out a way to get those taxes correct. And that's what we're doing with our team, is making sure that our customers understand when they buy a home and it's going to be reassessed based on the new sales price.
Yes.
And they're going to reevaluate taxes. We don't want there to be any sticker shock afterward.
Is there a way, if you're looking at how long the seller has been in the home, is that a good estimate? Because if they've been in the house for about 3 years and you're looking at the taxes, they're going to go up a little. But if they've been in the home 20 years, I would assume it's going to go up quite a bit more because it's assessed on the sales price, and they go up each year, but they can only go up so much. And if they've been in the home for 20 years, I expect that to go up, like Cindy just said, 175%. But if they've been in the home for 2 or 3 years, that's something where it's going to go up, but it's not going to be as drastic. Am I correct in saying that?
I think you're dead on, and that's a really, really
Okay.
good point. So the more recently that the home has sold, and then if it goes back and resells, again, if you just own it a couple of years, you probably won't see such a dramatic increase in taxes. But those homes that have been out there and haven't sold for 20 or 30 or 40 years, they really seem to be lagging behind on their tax values. And nobody wants the assessor to go figure that out, right, and just go raise taxes.
Sure.
But yeah, those can be some big, big jumps.
You know, when I talked about Tamara Ransom, in the end, she was forced to sell her home because she just didn't have the budget for the taxes. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but tax reassessments illustrate the importance of preparing for your purchase. You've got to prepare with property taxes and also homeowners insurance, which is going up.
Well, yeah, that's probably a costly mistake that can be avoided by pre-planning and doing your homework before buying the house.
You know, that's right, Dave. Here again, if Tamra had calculated the cost of the increased property taxes and established a monthly budget and a savings account, she would still be living in her home.
So if I'm thinking about buying a home and I want to know what my taxes are going to be, how do I calculate that?
It's basically the sales price of the property. So let's say you're going to pay $200,000 for the home. And then each county has an assessed value. Just use 12%. So $200,000 home times 12% is $24,000 for the assessed value. And then you multiply it times this thing called the millage rate.
Okay.
Millage rate is every year you go in and there are votes in each county for like school improvements, bridge improvements, library funds, roadways. And so that sets the millage rate every year.
Okay.
You take that assessed value that we just came up with, which was $24,000 in that case, multiply it times the millage rate to get your property taxes. So millages can be a little funky, you know, to calculate, but it's worth your time to go research this
Yeah, that
and make
sounds
sure you've got it right.
a little daunting for someone like me. So who am I going to call?
Who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters. Oh, great.
You led me right into that. It's like you guys planned that ahead. I love that.
Actually, they're too busy, Dave. They're really busy with their work. So call me and I'll help calculate that for you. And we'll answer any questions you might have about the home buying process.
Well, fantastic. Another segment that would have qualified as Wally's Weekly Wisdom. And stick around. We have that coming up next in 2 minutes.
To schedule an appointment with Wally Kerr to help you or a family member buy or sell a home, call or text at 405-330-3000 or go to wallysguarantee.com. Wally will be right back with more of the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show right here on KOKC.
Finding the right mortgage can be stressful, from knowing which program fits your situation the best to identifying the best terms. Hi, I'm Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage. I work closely with you every step of the way, from pre-qualification to helping you choose the home loan that's right for you. My promise is to provide transparency, timely communication, personal service, and closings on time. Call me today at 405-253-2276. That's 405-253-2276.
NMLS 984758. Gateway Mortgage, a division of Gateway First Bank. NMLS 7233. Equal housing lender.
Have you heard the news? The Fed says rates will be higher for longer. So waiting to buy or sell a home no longer makes sense because competition increases in the spring for both home buyers and for home sellers too. If you'll be selling, get my guarantee in writing to sell your home at a price agreeable to you, or I'll buy it myself. Wally has the buyers. Call me today at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty at 330-3000 and start packing. That's 330-3000.
Best Protect Roofing and Construction has been serving the Oklahoma community since 2017 with trusted professionals and a proven track record. Best Protect Roofing and Construction has the local knowledge to ensure every roofing project is compliant and hassle-free. They offer free roof inspections to assess damage, provide accurate quotes, and recommend the best solution for your home. Call today, 405-473-9599. Best Protect Roofing and Construction.
If you or a family member will be selling or buying a home and would like to schedule an appointment with Wally, call 405-330-3000 or go to wallysguarantee.com. Now back to the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show with Wally Kerr.
We're back, and Wally, we got a guest on the phone. Got him on real quick. It's Alan Cook with Best Protect Roofing and Construction. First off, Alan, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, actually, Alan, thanks for picking up the phone. You didn't know I was going to call you this morning. Really, it was just kind of a thought here on our show today. Is I know that there was some wind damage this last week.
Oh, we had storms and, well, of course, all across the state, but even in the metro, a lot of high winds, maybe some possible hail. So, Alan, have you been busy?
Oh, just a little bit. Yeah, just driving all over the place. Put about 5,000 miles on my car the last couple days. But,
I bet. One of my customers called and said there was like some 80-mile-per-hour winds plus that went through more. What have you seen this week, Alan, and what would you recommend? I want our listeners to be sure that they don't have any damage and they end up with leaks when it rains again, maybe inside their property. What's your recommendation? First of all, what have you seen this week and where were you?
Yeah. My guys were all over the metro the last few days, just looking at roofs, helping people out. We've had a lot of people with wind damage. A lot of those winds that came through Moore, Guthrie, Midwest City, just all different parts of the metro that got some really high winds and even got some hail. And we've seen some people with damage, just being able to kind of help them out, put some tarps up, or just replace shingles as quick as we can. But yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a pretty easy thing as a homeowner. Hail, it's harder to see. If you're the regular average homeowner, you don't know what hail damage looks like, and you may not even have a ladder or even want to get on your roof. But with wind damage, you can just walk outside, look up at your roof, walk around your house. If you see any lifting shingles, if you see any shingles missing, it's probably time to make a phone call, get that looked at. A lot of times it's not an emergency because of the way we make underlayment today. So if your roof is less than 10 years old, there's a good chance you have synthetic underlayment, and you're going to be good for a couple of days, most likely. But you don't want to leave it like that. And so, you want to get those shingles replaced, and it's an easy thing to do. And that's what we've been doing the last few days, just doing a lot of patches, a lot of shingle replace from wind damage.
Alan, I would think the best thing to do is to give someone like yourself a call, because unless you've had severe damage, you don't want to keep calling the insurance company and getting on with them, because you eventually could be dropped or your rates are going to go really high. But when it's wind damage like that, you're right. If I were to give you a call, you come out and inspect it, and I might have a little bit of damage here and there. It behooves me to probably use you just to do a couple of repairs before trying to file another claim or anything on this, right?
Absolutely. Any agent's going to tell you that. With hail damage, it's easier. You're going to have it all over your roof most likely, and you can get your roof replaced by insurance. With wind damage, you have a few shingles that have blown off. If you call and make a claim, they're going to come out. They'll even approve your claim, but it's going to be a non-pay because it's not going to meet your deductible.
Right.
And so here now you have a claim on your record. Once you get a couple claims on your record, you know how it is. You could get dropped, and that's just the reality of it.
Alan, with the Oklahoma summers, if you've got a roof that's more than, let's say, 6 or 8 or 10 years old, if it's a composition roof, don't those shingles get more brittle? And even if the shingles are still on your property, isn't there a chance that the wind could get up there, blow them upward, and then crack or break those shingles because they're brittle? Don't you see that a lot?
Yeah, definitely. The older shingles get, the more brittle they get. I got a 25-year-old roof the other day that has just held up amazing, but as I'm walking on it, you can just kind of feel the crunch underneath your feet because of how brittle they are. Actually, the older they get, sometimes it kind of gets better. They just kind of, almost turn into concrete up there. Not really, but you know what I mean. So you really want to just keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on your shingles. Go outside, take a look at your roof. If you have any missing shingles, got to get that looked at.
Alan, is there a cost for our listeners to call you to get their roof looked at?
No cost for inspections. We do free inspections. And there's a lot of good roofing companies in Oklahoma City. But there's a lot of bad ones, too, that send out door knockers, and they're going to tell every single person they come in contact with to file a claim. And it's just a short numbers game to them. They're just trying to get as many darts to the board as they can and get a few to stick. We're going to come out and be very honest with you, take a bunch of pictures, tell you exactly what's going on with your roof. We're HAG certified, which is the same certification that insurance adjusters have, so we know exactly how to look at a roof in the same eyes that an insurance adjuster is going to look at it. So we can tell you, hey, this is worth a claim, or hey, unfortunately, this is probably not going to meet your deductible. You might just be out of pocket a little bit to replace some shingles.
Well, Wally has your number in his back pocket, but if I'm listening right now and I think I might need you to come out and check it out, give our listeners your number so we can contact you.
Call or text me direct. 405-473-9599. Send me a text. Tell me, hey, I was listening to the radio show. I think I might have a couple missing shingles. Can you come check it out?
Fantastic. That's great. Alan, thank you so much for quickly jumping on with us today. And again, for always joining us and providing the great service that you do.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, as always.
Appreciate it, Alan.
Well, Alan is always a great resource, and it was good that he can jump on with us. Let's jump right into Wally's Weekly Wisdom. Wally, what do we have for us today?
Let's talk about how to tell whether it's time to replace your air conditioner unit outside.
Okay.
We call it the condenser. That's that unit that sits outside. It's got a compressor in it. So is it time to replace it if you need service? Or should you just pay the money to get it fixed?
And you might have more than one. On our home, we have 2 outside units.
We do. So let's talk about that. Number one, let's talk about the age and the lifespan. As these units have become more efficient over the years, actually the age and the number of years you can expect it to operate has gone down a little bit according to some contractors to make them more efficient. We've just lost some of that lifespan. I used to think an outside condenser would maybe last 20 to 25 years. We're hearing today that they have a lifespan of about 15 years, 12 to 15, depending on the brand that you buy.
That's pretty depressing if you've got 2 outside units.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to do the math in my head when our home was built. And,
Sure.
How long it's been. So it might be starting to reach its lifespan.
Well, and they have become more costly as they have become more efficient. So keep that in mind that the age of that outside unit probably is in that 12 to 15-year range. And then you want to really... I think here's the litmus test is what's it going to cost to repair it? And if you're going to spend more than half of the cost to replace it, more than 50% on repairs, probably better to buy a newer unit that's more efficient.
On our home, we have a heat and air company come out twice a year to service. In the winter, our furnace. In the summer, our condensers. And we just had that done. And as a matter of fact, the heat and air man told me that one of our units, he could tell by certain parts that it looked really good. Our unit's, about 7 years old?
About 7 years old in ours.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the other one, he said it's fine, but I can tell it's got wear on it. And that's the one that services the larger part of our home.
Well, when we bought really quality American Standard equipment to put in, and so this might verify that these units aren't lasting as long. So when we're talking about if you're going to spend more than 50% of the cost of the unit on a repair, maybe it's time to look at replacing. We're headed into the summertime, which is why we wanted to talk about this today. And that's when the unit's going to run hard in Oklahoma, especially in July and August and even early September, right?
Yes.
How many football games at OU have you sat in where it was nearly 100 degrees?
Too many.
And that's September, right?
Yes.
And so that unit's still running hard in September. So if you've noticed that your utility bill costs have gone up, it's because the cost of energy is increasing, right?
Yes.
Everything's going up.
Sure.
So you might also look at if that's one of the issues and you just notice those utilities have been going up, factor that in as far as getting your unit replaced. And then finally, loud noises. They're designed to run pretty quietly. Mm-hmm. You go to a brand new home, walk through a builder's home. If the air conditioner's running, you can hardly hear it running outside. When you begin to hear buzzes or loud noises, it's a pretty good indication that you're probably getting into something that's going to be expensive to replace.
Because outside our guest bedroom, when it comes on, now I'm thinking,
So just consider those things as we go into the hot time of year. And remember, too, how busy contractors are going to get when it's really hot outside and how difficult it is to be inside a home when you can't get a contractor out.
Yes.
You're paying more for emergency service. Your air conditioning's not working. So I think you need to think about these qualifiers and make the best decision for you, of course, but this is the time of year to be thinking about it.
And having a service contract where you have a heat and air person come out twice a year really gives you a heads up on when this is going to go out, budgeting, and making sure that it doesn't catch you, like Wally said in September.
Little peace of mind. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. More great advice from a guy that's been around the block a time or two. Can I say that, Wally?
I'm okay with that label. I'm fine with that.
All right. You have some fun and interesting facts for us again. We did this last week. It was fantastic, and you're going to do this again and try to stump the chump, if you will, on me. Now, Cindy's a professional.
You call her a chump, you're going to be in big trouble because I've tried that before,
certainly
Dave.
putting that label on myself because if I need to phone a friend when you ask these questions, I'm calling Cindy. She's the expert here. But what are some of the fun and interesting facts you have for us today?
Cindy really loves Oklahoma and history, so she might know the answer to this one. So, which private owner owns the most amount of land in the state of Oklahoma?
Well, let's let Dave go first.
Oh, no.
'Cause I
I'm
have
waiting
a
for
thought.
you. I have no clue. No clue.
Well, I read this question up front. I didn't do any research, but I got to thinking. And I am a big Pioneer Woman follower. And
Okay.
I've been to Pawhuska, and my best friend and I have eaten in the Pioneer Woman's restaurant. And I have been to the Drummond Ranch. And I'm wondering if it's the Drummonds.
That is correct. The largest landowner in the state is the Drummond family, and it includes the Drummond Land and Cattle Company, and it is in Pawhuska. You're right. The family owns 100,000 acres. They breed and train horses for cutting and reining competitions. So, Cindy, bing, 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 you got that one right.
And you know what's really fun when you visit up there is they also have the contract for the wild Mustangs.
Oh, okay.
And the U.S. government pays private landowners to preserve wild Mustangs. And they have hundreds and hundreds of wild Mustangs on their property. And it's just, if you go on the Pioneer Woman's site, she takes a lot of pictures of those. And it's just a beautiful
Wow, that's
sight
cool.
to see those Mustangs.
So that's in Oklahoma, the largest private landowner. What about in the U.S.? Who's the largest private landowner in
I got
the
to think
U.S.?
it's somewhere in Texas.
Cindy?
You know, I'm thinking it would be Ted Turner. I have read a lot about him, and I actually have a friend who managed one of his bison ranches where they had buffalo on thousands of acres.
There's some conflicting data, but you're correct. Ted Turner
Oh,
is
good
the
job,
country's
Cindy.
largest private landowner, along with, and the conflicting data comes from the Emerson family in California, and they own over 2.4 million acres. Wow. The bulk of that land is dedicated to timber production in Northern California. Oh. So a couple of big landowners there. Okay, got the last one for you today. So Oklahoma contains just over 44 million acres in our state. So there's some trivia for you to take to your next party. Of that 44 million acres, how much land does the federal government own here? And let's just say as a percentage. Let's keep it easy instead of guessing at a number.
99%. No.
Well, I have read a lot about this. I don't know the percentage, so I'm going to have to guess. But it was interesting as our country developed. The eastern part of our country was private land. And as we moved into westward expansion, the federal government realized we needed to set aside federal parks. We needed open space. And so I'm thinking here in the Midwest, it's probably going to be about 15%.
It's actually only 1.6%.
Oh, my gosh.
So in the 44 million acres in Oklahoma, about 706,000 are owned by the federal government. It's interesting you said that, Cindy. You know, in a lot of areas that are rural, there's actually land that is managed by the federal government for crop production to feed the American population, right? And so that gets into crop management and leasing of that property. But only 1.6% is actually owned by the federal government here in Oklahoma.
Interesting. And I did see the disparity when I lived in California, and I did a lot of trail riding on BLM, Bureau of Land Management land. There's so much open space that's owned by the federal government for the enjoyment of the public. But we just didn't have that here.
You know, when I said 99%, I meant 99% wasn't owned by the federal government.
There you
so
go.
I was
Ding,
almost
ding. You were
dead
right.
on.
You mean 99% of those owning land are paying taxes, right?
Oh, well, yeah,
That's probably more like
absolutely.
100%, isn't it?
Yes. Well, speaking of land ownership, and if you own land, you probably own a home. And
Right.
with the way the interest rates have been recently and the mortgage rates, you might be holding on to that a little bit more. You might be a prisoner to that and not really looking to move outside to purchase a new home. So
I agree. If you need to move, perhaps your family is growing, maybe it's a job transfer, maybe a change in family and moving a family member back in with you or a parent in, or even downsizing, there's just a lot of people feeling like they're a prisoner to their current low mortgage rate that they've got on their home.
You know, that's right, Wally. It may seem daunting to go from a payment on a 3% mortgage to a 7%. And I talked about that earlier, about the woman I met who came through my recent open house and was going to have to do just that. It's kind of the golden handcuffs. If you have a real need, like you just talked about in her case, she needed 4 bedrooms for her kids, then you need to look at the process.
You know, I've been doing open houses also because it's busy time of year, and I really enjoy getting out and meeting people on Sundays. What I'm hearing a lot of people say is they'll come in an open house, and I'll just ask the question and say, hey, are you really thinking about moving, or are you just kicking tires? Most people, Dave, today say, well, it depends. And my first thought is they're probably not talking about a diaper that they're wearing. Okay, they're
We talked about that.
probably instead what I know they're saying is, yeah, maybe if it's the right house today. And I've asked them those questions. And then the next question is, I bet you've got a low mortgage rate on your home right now. And they really open up and say, yeah, you know, you're right.
You bet.
I got a 3.5. I've got a 4. I've got a 4.5. It's going to take a lot to make me move in this current market with rates at 7%. So if you're one of those people saying, this is really not the house we want to stay in, we really do want to make a move, I've just got 3 pieces of advice today.
Okay.
It starts with calculating your new payment, and that backs up here in the show to talking about those property taxes. So if you're on the fence, if you're on that teeter-totter swinging back and forth, the kids are out of school, they're going to be out of school, do we move, do we stay? First thing is calculate what that new payment looks like. Get the tax information down. Go ahead and call your insurance agent. And don't guess what your insurance is going to be. Cindy, the last few years, we've seen some pretty steady hikes in insurance rates on our rental properties and on our own personal home, right?
That's right. You know, building materials, if they have to replace the home, building materials have gone up substantially.
Have you noticed, Dave, do you manage the money, or does Kim do that for you guys? Have you watched your insurance premiums over the last couple of years?
She notifies me of that.
Okay.
She's the expert in that, so yes.
Well, I know
Yes,
where
I
you're
have.
the expert, and it's right behind that microphone. So, yeah, Cindy does the same thing for us and manages our finances. But she did come to me in the last year to 18 months and said, hey, we've seen some pretty steep increases in insurance. So let's say you're going to jump from $400,000 to a $700,000 home, and you're weighing this out. I'd be calling my insurance agent and give some scant details on the property, whatever they need. Look at what that insurance is going to cost. Look at what those property taxes are going to go up to, and figure that payment out and make sure it's something you're going to be comfortable with. Look at your loan options. Consider a buy down. Look at maybe an adjustable rate mortgage. Look at that 30-year fixed rate, because we all have a lot more comfort in doing that. And we can help you to estimate the equity that you've got in your home. That's that old text Wally at 330-3000.
Yes.
Give me your address. I'll probably ask you back on a scale of 1 to 10 to rate your home. I'll also ask you if you've done any remodeling or if you've got a pool or a shop. That's something we provide at no charge. You don't have to call, and I can give you a range so that you can figure out about what equity you've got. Dave, second would be, we just recommend open a savings account and just start depositing the payment difference into that savings account every month. Get ready financially for that move,
Yes.
right? You'll continue making your current payment, but now you're adjusting your budget to fit your new payment. And don't forget to add those taxes in. You'll know when these added costs fit into your budget comfortably, looking at what the balance in your bank account looks like after a couple of months.
You know, and I know what step 3 is, and that's be ready to sell. And call us for advice. We're happy to come out, look at your home. We kind of wear our buyer hat, what's going to be important to a buyer in that price range, and guide you to what needs to be fixed up and perhaps what doesn't.
And Dave, our guaranteed sale program, I've never had more requests for our program.
Okay.
And I think it's because of
This is
exactly.
really good, yes.
Well, but it's what we're talking about today. It's so pertinent because, again, standing in an open house and people are saying, yeah, maybe. But if they do walk in and say, wow, son of a gun, I walked into your open house today. This really fits our family. But how are we going to beat out these other buyers that are looking at the same home? We think it's a good value. So probably other buyers think it's a good value. And maybe some of them don't have a home to sell first. And so I am running radio spots right now to let people know that we do have the guaranteed program that says we can buy your current home so that you could step in and buy the home you want without a contingency. Programs helps out a lot of people. And if you're in that case, or you're thinking about buying, or you find that dream home, at least give us a call for a consultation. We'll look and see if we can guarantee your home and how short we can do that period. It's a program that our customers really love.
Great advice, as always. And Kim and I are still enjoying the house that you helped us buy. We've been in it now.
Love that.
Almost 7-8 years now.
Wow.
It's gone so fast.
Yes, yeah, and we're enjoying it. But I can see a day, maybe in the future, where we want to move to a new property. Maybe we want to downsize when we get older. Timothy will fly the coop and he'll be off in his great adventure. We want to downsize maybe. Who knows? Maybe we want to buy our dream home on the lake.
And we will be there. Cindy and I will be glad to come over and drink your iced tea on your back deck,
sit
Dave.
on your deck and enjoy.
Okay, I know we got to get to a break here, but I do have a quick question about, we did talk down the cook with the weather and storm damage and wind damage, and we didn't really talk about trees. And I know that trees could be a big problem if they're close to your house and the kind of damage that they could incur onto your roof and your house, and just the damage of them falling over and getting those taken out and everything. What do you think, insurance companies, and how does that all revolve around with trees on your property in reference to damage to your roof and everything?
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up. A lot of our listeners do have trees around their home. And boy, when it blows hard, when you've got a light breeze, the tree limbs may just touch your shingles, but boy, when they're scraping back and forth in 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds, they can damage the shingles pretty quick. We even talked about on a recent show how insurance companies are using drones to look at roofs and decide about insurability and the condition. They could probably use those to do the same thing and look at trees touching the roof, and you just don't want to put your insurance policy in peril and get dropped from not keeping tree limbs trimmed back and also checking for damage after a storm like what we just had.
And that's true. And their insurance companies are even using satellite imagery and high altitude balloons, which is surprising.
Oh, wow.
Is that like those Chinese balloons that have been flying over the U.S.?
So.
Yeah, probably not.
So they got pictures of me sunbathing outside now?
What? Whoa.
That's probably not what they're looking for. They have become, we talked about this, they're just more discerning than ever before. And probably from just several years of severe weather, the straight line winds we get, the hail that's here, the costs to go in and do roof repairs, it's obvious that's why insurance costs are increasing, is the labor and materials are up. You want to keep your heat and air in good condition like we talked about earlier. What's the other really expensive system on your home that you've got control over?
Your roof.
It's taking care of your roof.
Yes.
So keep those tree limbs off of your roof so that the limbs aren't scraping against them, especially during storms. And just make sure you don't get any roof leaks on the inside.
You talked about, Cindy mentioned having a plan with your HVAC system where they maybe come out once a year, twice a year to check that out. Maybe have a tree trimmer come by and trim those back, especially as you get into the time of the year now when it's going to be real windy. And that might be something. I know it's colder, but maybe January, February, you give somebody a call, come out and trim those back. If you can do it during the cold months, I don't know. But that's preventative maintenance that's really going to save your roof down the road.
Yeah, it's just about extending the life of the systems at your home that are so expensive, whether it's the roof shingles or the heat and air. Just getting on a maintenance program or having somebody look at it on a regular basis is probably good advice.
And we'll be back in 2 minutes to wrap up the show. Stick around.
To schedule an appointment with Wally Kerr to help you or a family member buy or sell a home, call or text at 405-330-3000 or go to wallysguarantee.com. Wally will be right back with more of the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show right here on KOKC.
Looking for a cash offer for your home? If so, do you want to see just one offer, or would you prefer to receive multiple cash offers and you get to choose the one you want? IWantMultipleOffers.com is the place to go, and that's exactly what you'll get fast. You choose the closing date, no open houses, no strangers in your home, and no waiting to receive an offer. You can sell as is. Today we know that homeowners like you want options. Our cash offer program, where you receive multiple offers, not just one, allows you to do what you want to do. If the cash offers aren't quite as high as you want, you still have the option of placing your home for sale for only as long as you want. 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, you choose. And if it's not sold in that agreed period, you can take any one of the cash offers, including one from us. Visit IWantMultipleOffers.com. Get the options you want, or just give us a call today. Wally and Cindy Kerr at your home sold guaranteed realty at 330-3000.
Best Protect Roofing and Construction has been serving the Oklahoma community since 2017 with trusted professionals and a proven track record. Best Protect Roofing and Construction has the local knowledge to ensure every roofing project is compliant and hassle-free. They offer free roof inspections to assess damage, provide accurate quotes, and recommend the best solution for your home. Call today, 405-473-9599. Best Protect Roofing and Construction.
Finding the right mortgage can be stressful. From knowing which program fits your situation the best to identifying the best terms. Hi, I'm Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage. I work closely with you every step of the way, from pre-qualification to helping you choose the home loan that's right for you. My promise is to provide transparency, timely communication, personal service, and closings on time. Call me today at 405-253-2276. That's 405-253-2276.
NMLS 984758. Gateway Mortgage, a division of Gateway First Bank. NMLS 7233. Equal housing lender.
If you or a family member will be selling or buying a home and would like to schedule an appointment with Wally, call 405-330-3000 or go to wallysguarantee.com. Now back to the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show with Wally Kerr.
Well, as we wrap up the show today, I know we're always kind of keeping tabs on the economic data from the feds and how that correlates to a lot of things, consumer price index, products, everything going on. It affects everything in life, basically. But one of the major things is housing, the housing market and buying and selling of homes and interest rates. So can you tell us what maybe the latest data, when that comes out, or how that is affecting the latest market and rates?
Sure. So the Fed's policy is to watch the economic data that comes out. The next thing that we're going to be watching is this next week, Dave, and the Consumer Price Index will come out again. It's interesting. The last few days, it looked like unemployment rose just a little bit. And that's one of the factors and things that the Fed is watching, is unemployment and what's your and my personal consumption look like? What are we buying? What are we spending money on? And the Consumer Price Index is a big one, shows us what prices are doing. That's going to be released this next week.
Okay.
And it probably won't have a lot of an effect. In fact, it probably won't have any effect at all on the Fed's rate right now. I think the Fed is going to need to see data 2 or 3 months in a row that shows it's going the wrong direction for interest rates to have any change. Most of us believe that rates where they are right now, in that 7.25 for the best buyers, maybe getting down to 7 if you've got great credit and income, to somewhere around the 7.5% to 8% range for a lot of consumers.
Okay.
That rates are probably there for right now. And the market's rallying right now, though, because just everything looks good as far as economic growth. And so the Dow and the NASDAQ and the S&P got really good this week.
Yes.
But if the numbers weren't good this week and the prices were up again when this CPI index comes out, then the markets could lose some steam. So we have watched that over the years, Cindy.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's a hard ride, isn't it, being invested in the market?
It is. When you're invested in the financial markets, it does require some fortitude. There have been so many times, Wally, when you've come to me and just said, we need to just sell everything, convert everything to cash. But that's never going to get you anywhere in retirement. You just have to hang in there for the long term. Sometimes I wonder, you were just talking about the Fed mixing all these components together to figure out whether it's CPI, whether it is unemployment. And it was reminding me of when I was a Girl Scout and 8 years old. And we had this project where we all brought a different can of Campbell's soup and we mixed it all in one pot and we stirred it around. And it was supposed to be this hobo soup. And it was awful.
I didn't know where this is going. I was thinking, this is going to be great. I have a new recipe.
It was awful.
But I like the analogy because I think you're right. People want to blame the Fed. But economically, it's really difficult because we've seen continued marks of inflation, which is why the Fed has left its rate where it is. They even thought about raising it, but that would have a catastrophic effect on commercial real estate and short-term loans. So, yeah, I think they're doing the same thing. They're looking in that pot.
All the soup in the pot.
Here's some interesting stuff. I put this on my phone just a few days ago, and since we're talking about investments in the market, it's important you get in, and when you're investing, is just to get in and stay in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So listen to these numbers where the Dow has been over the years. So this last week, it got back up close to 40,000 points again.
Yes.
If it ever hits 40, it'll be a record high. It got to like 39,889 about a month ago.
Just almost.
Let's go look at some historic data like we did interest rates last week. So do you know that the Dow Jones Industrials in January of 1990 was at 6,350 points? 10 years later in 2000, it was at 14.5. In January of 2010, it was 21,000. 10 years later in January of 2020, it was at 30,000 and now at about 40,000 points and headed that direction.
Wow.
Whether it's in the coming weeks or in months, it's amazing how much it's gone up over time. And so those that were invested in the market, Cindy, when we got into the market in the 90s, back when it was below 10,000, would you have ever thought we'd be looking at 40,000?
You know, when you're an investor, you have to keep your wits about you and not react, but look at it for the long term.
So the same thing could be true in real estate as well. Your advice a couple of shows was to buy and hold real estate, because it's one of those things that's always going to grow, and it's really shot up over the last 4 or 5 years or so. So I know that both of you have built wealth in investing and buying properties, and you want to help our listeners do the same.
You know, it's a component of your portfolio. You may have investments in the financial market, but then you've got your real estate portfolio. And one of the great things about it is it can provide generational wealth. So you could will it to one of your kids as part of your trust, your estate plan, or you could provide it to one of your kids for their starter home.
Or grandkids.
That's right.
Yeah, we like the idea of having real estate, being able to pass that along, and instead of somebody getting a big lump sum and going and just one of the grandkids pilfering that away, going and buying some opulent car, to have property that they can receive a monthly income on. It's almost like giving them an annuity.
Yes.
To where they're just receiving the monthly income, and that's a little easier to manage. So generational wealth we think is really cool. Buy a little property, let it increase in value, pass it on to kids or grandkids. Real estate's always been a great buy and hold investment. We've learned that in the investments that we talk about with the market and how the Dow's increased. Again, can you believe just 35 years ago, the Dow was only at 6,350 points, and now we're at about 40,000. Real estate's done the same thing. Appreciation of over 35 to 40% just over the last 4 or 5 years.
And you know, one thing I like about this generational wealth is getting your kids involved. When they're not kids, when they're young adults, they can help you manage those properties. You can talk about taxes and maintenance and vacancy factors. And it's really an interesting way to get them involved.
You're setting them up for success.
That's right.
Like what we do here every week for 1 hour. You tune in, you listen to us, and Wally's going to pontificate again. So I use that word. I pulled that out again. But you guys always have some great wisdom, and you've been doing this for 37, close to 38 years.
36 years for both of us.
36 years. That's fantastic. Now, there's some great people that are involved in real estate in the state of Oklahoma.
There's really good people in our industry.
Yes.
People that have been in for a long time like us that we just enjoy doing transactions with. Of course, we'd love to work with you, whether it's your friends or your family or yourself, your kids, your grandkids. Give us a call. We'd consider it an honor and a privilege to work with you.
Or you can just stop by and hang out with Wally. Do we have another Where's Wally coming up soon?
We do. I'm going to be at the Brahms on Sarah Road, just off the Kilpatrick Turnpike over in the Yukon area. It's just off of 29th Street, Dave. You've passed that before.
Yes.
This coming Friday for lunch from 11:30 to 1 p.m. So drop by. You can meet me. And most of all, just talk about real estate, questions that you've got, and any way that we could help you in your plan for real estate in your life, whether it's buying or selling or investing.
Well, Wally, what's your favorite meal at Brahms?
They've got a couple of hamburgers right now with some avocado.
I was going to say that
yes.
burger with the avocado.
The avocado and that Brahms sauce, and I love Brahms limeades. And
I know
so
you do. In
looking
the
forward to
summer.
lunch this Friday. Come on over, grab your lunch yourself, and come sit down with me. I'll be wearing a black polo, so I'll be easy to find. I'll be the guy that you would identify and say, there's a reason he's on radio and not TV because he's got a face for radio.
That's fantastic. But a face for billboards. I'm going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
We've seen you and Cindy on a couple of those around town. If you're driving around and you see those, that is Wally and Cindy right there.
Yeah, that stunning woman you see on the billboard is Cindy, my wife. 29 years married this year and still very happy.
Oh, that's awesome. If you're listening and Saturday, you just caught the tail end of the show, you can join us again tomorrow, the replay at noon. And of course, go to WallyTalksHouses.com. You get all of the past shows there as well. Great show this week. Good to see you guys.
Thanks, Dave. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show with Wally Kerr. Heard every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. and replayed on Sundays at noon here on 1520 a.m. and 95.3 FM KOKC. Wally's name is his promise. Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. To speak with Wally directly about selling your home or buying, call or text him to schedule an appointment at 405-330-3000. 405-330-3000. Or go to wallysguarantee.com. That's wallysguarantee.com.